Anytime you're ready.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My name is Steve Johnson, and this with me is Captain Paul Broward, and Paul is going to recount how we arrived here in Port Orchard on the Maverick.
Well, it's a pretty complicated story, but I'll keep it brief. Steve, when you came to me, had just finished, about 5 years earlier, finished building this boat, and it took us 17 years to do it. Now, we've since decided that we want to go to a different kind of boat, and that would be a sailboat. So this didn't work for us, and we went to the regular market and appealed to, mom and pop and the people that want to buy boats. And I've had a lot of experiences with these people, and most of them were like, well, I want to kick the tires, will I do this, will I do that? And I had one particular experience that was really, really bad. I came on board and he said, well, I don't know if my drunk friends will be able to hang on these rails without falling off. And I said, at that point I was ready to throw him overboard. But I said to my wife after he left, I said, this is not working. I said, we've spent 17 years on this boat, and I'm not going to just give it away to anybody. We want to obviously change to a different boat, but I said, it's got to be the right people. And then you came up to us and you said, I've got a good idea. I said, I think I'd like to take this boat and reward the people who save the world's oceans and do things good for the environment with a very nice place for them to relax, R&R, use it as a marketing tool, etc. And I said, hey, that sounds pretty cool. And you came and showed me what you had. And I said, and we both, after you left, we said, this guy looks kind of crazy, but I think he's a genius crazy. So we kind of said, that's what we want to do. So that's kind of where we are, and you've proven that you are kind of crazy, but genius crazy, and we're still with you. And I think what your vision is for the boat and for the use is exactly what we want. So we're sticking with you, and we'll see where it takes us.
Well, and from my end, I found the Maverick in a yachting magazine and called, and they told me that they had a website to go to, and the website actually it knocked me back on my heels, because even professional yacht brokers don't put this level of pictures and information and quality data about a vessel on the ones where they're charging money for the boat to be sold and a commission and so forth. And they had delisted from the yacht broker. They had it in the yachting magazine, but they were kind of selling it themselves. And I was just really impressed with the level of photographic evidence and data, and it was just really professional. And I wanted to meet them, and I wanted to see more about this boat, because the boat intrigued me just from the pictures, inside and out. I got to look in drawers, and I got to look in systems and engine compartments, and I didn't get to do that in any other boat. So I wanted to meet these people who put all of this stuff on the net, partly. And then when I met Paul and Heidi, all this other stuff came out. It's like, wow, this is maybe a couple that I might be able to do something with on this larger project I've been working on for many years. And so we kept the relationship going over a period of months, and then we ended up getting together and doing a deal on the boat. But it was the level of professionalism that they built the site themselves. They didn't just hand it off to somebody and have them build the site about the Maverick. They did it themselves, and it just came across really professionally, and it was why we ended up together and talking about a mutual decision to put the Maverick to a new use.
And I was going to add one more thing that I didn't say earlier, and it's because we don't have any children. This boat is our child. It took us 17 years to build it, and I said, I'm not going to give my kid, this Maverick, over to just anybody. I said, this is, it's like, basically if your kid's going to college, you're booting the kid out in the world, that's what the boat is. And I said, we have to have this boat do more than just be somebody's drunken hangout. And that's why he said, it's got to have a very special purpose. And you've got the ball, so.
And this points out two more things. One is that I want to be something of a rescuer of vessels like this, if you will, a protector, or I call it underdog guardianship, where it didn't resonate with the market. It's far more powerful a vessel than the price reflected, and I wanted to do something about that. That was number one. And number two was, instead of the usual situation where you sell a vessel or you sell a prized asset that you have a lot of emotional attachment to, just going to somebody and you never see it again, and it is You don't know how they're going to treat it. You don't know if it's going to be sunk or taken care of, or whether it's going to have a useful life after you part with it and you get your money from it. This is different. They are not divorced from the vessel. All they've done is added a new partner on the vessel, and that's me with them and the vessel, and they have an involvement with it, and they get to use it still, and they get to see it do this important work that we're talking about, putting the boat to work to do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, ask the question.
Yeah, Steve, I've heard you say to me several times, and I didn't want to interrupt you because you fire rather rapidly. You're talking about linear money making and nonlinear money making, and I don't really get what the concept is. I mean, I know how to work a job, but I don't get the concept of this nonlinear thing. So could you help me out with that?
Sure.
Look to him, because
Okay.
you're
Yeah,
looking
sure.
on off camera there,
Right,
just
right.
a little bit.
Okay.
And okay, go ahead. Anytime you're ready to ask the question.
Sure.
So, Paul, linear versus nonlinear is something that's relatively poorly understood out there. Pretty much the whole world is involved in linear money making. They do the work and then they get the money. And that includes people who have a day job working for somebody else,
Right.
which is a large number of the people. And it also includes people who work for themselves, but they really don't transition into a large business where they have lots of people who work for them. They primarily are professionals, and they might have a small staff, but it's mostly their work that makes the money. And so linear is when you are required to be there in order for the money to come in. And let's take an extreme example of a linear money maker that makes a lot of money. Let's say I'm Kevin Costner, and I make $15 or $20 million for my picture.
Right.
And I still have to go out to the desert or out to the wild somewhere and live in a hot trailer, and I don't have my wife, and I don't have my dog, and I don't have my favorite restaurant, and I don't have my favorite town, and I can't go to the local bar and talk with my buddies.
Right.
And I'm there for 3 months or 4 months, and I make the 20 million, but I still made linear
Got
money.
it. Okay.
And everybody from there all the way down to the McDonald's worker is doing the work in order to make the money. And when you stop doing
the
the
other
work,
extreme now. I wonder what's some nonlinear person.
right, and one other nuance to it is if I know how to operate on people's brains,
Okay.
and that makes a lot of money, but I'm flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. I don't get paid to operate on humans' brains. I get paid for what I do.
Okay.
And so they're going to pay me the minimum wage to flip hamburgers. Okay, so nonlinear. Nonlinear is much more difficult to achieve. It involves leveraging your time or other people's time, talent, treasure, which is making money with your money, trust, which is people trust you or people trust somebody that you're in business with, and therefore you make money from that trust relationship, like endorsements. Non-leveraged is, nonlinear is if you created something like a book, and 20 years later you're still making money from that book because people are still buying the book. Or you developed a course and you sell it on the internet, and 20 years later people are still...
awake, asleep, whatever you're doing, you're going to have cash coming in, or rewards at least in some form for what you've created.
Correct.
Not necessarily actively involved in it at the time. Is that
Correct. And the departure point is when you stop doing the work, does the money stop, or does it some residual continue to come in? And even if that residual diminishes over time, and that's common with royalties and books and writing songs and other things, still there is a nonlinear component if after you stop doing the work, the money continues to come in.
Okay.
And so it's a difficult thing to achieve, but it is something that's easier to achieve now than ever before because of the internet and because of broadband and because of free places to put videos, and because it's easier to learn how to make products yourself that can benefit you long after you did the work and you made them available for sale.
Okay. Great. Steve, I've heard you use a phrase that was foreign to me, but I've heard you use a number of times. You call yourself a meme smith. Now that sounds kind of strange, and I thought, I know what a meme is, but a meme smith, obviously you make memes, and one particular one that you've come up with, 3 letters, PDF, but you never actually got to the explanation of what PDF is.
Right.
So what is that all about? Something else come to mind?
Yeah, just what I said. Okay, anytime you're ready.
PDQ, please.
Okay, Paul. Well, first, a meme smith is somebody who develops memes, which are simply ideas that can be useful in a variety of ways. And an example of a meme would be word-of-mouth advertising is an example of a meme. And memetics is, I'm not an expert by any stretch, but my understanding of memetics is it's the science of studying how memes happen and how they transfer from human to human and how efficacious they are, or how successfully they are at being transferred from human to human. Oh. So there's metrics to it, and it's kind of related to genetics, where you have a successful transfer of genetic code in population genetics. And so if you took the word population and you applied it to memetics, you have population memetics, which is how well does the meme spread from human to human in a population of humans. And in the case of what we're doing here, we're talking about making money or raising money for a charity, or both. And therefore, we're concerned about population memetics, because if you have an efficacious meme, meaning it's highly copyable, then you're going to make more money. It's going to be more efficient at making money.
So are you saying it's like a teaching aid, it's a crutch, an aid to accelerate the learning process in nonlinear thinking? Is that kind of what you're doing? Or how do you use a meme in a practical sense? I guess that's what I'm saying. Right.
Well, a good example is when you're talking about a behavior that makes you money.
Okay.
If that is highly copyable, you're going to make more money than if it isn't.
Sure.
So the more complex it is, the harder it is to copy, and the simpler it is, and the easier it is for one person to pass it along to another. It's not something that's really hard to explain or something that's really hard to move along the path of the population meme pool, like a gene pool, so to speak. Then more money happens. And this is really what's at the heart of viral marketing. If it's really easy to just turn around and send the email off to 5 friends, then people do it. And if it's
I don't want to work too hard at this. So
right, it has to be really easy, and it has to be fun. If it's fun, more people are going to do it, and you have a more efficacious or more efficient meme, because more people do it, because it's fun, because it's easy, because it's a highly contagious, like you would have in a virus. That's why they call it viral marketing. Okay, so PDF is actually, I have 3 different meanings, and this is something that throws people for a loop. It's like, well, you should only have one meaning from PDF. Well, PDF stands for, in computers, it stands for page description format, and that's a standard that is like, for example, the ANSI standards, which is a big global standards organization that says, okay, everybody do it this way, and then it will be able to be used on a whole bunch of computers instead of just one type.
Okay.
And so page description format, or PDF, is what you get to look at when you look at a text document with pictures and other things in it and links in it, and it all pretty much behaves the same way for the most part on lots of different computers. So a Mac or a Linux machine or an Intel architecture machine or a Microsoft operating system, it still will work. Cross-platform. And a second type of PDF is one that we use in marketing, and it's a really important concept that I call a perpetually developed funnel. So PDF, perpetually developed funnel, and a funnel is simply a sales process where people come in and they decide and they branch and they check out, or they go further into the funnel and they do stuff. and that's it. And a perpetually developed funnel is just one where you keep working on it and you make it different.
Improving
and new people that come into the funnel may actually be helping to improve it,
I got it.
because they bring new skills, and then you use those skills to make the funnel better, and that makes everybody more money. So
Okay.
it's a perpetually
So everybody's working toward the same goal.
developed
Okay.
funnel. Cut for just a second. All right, this is Steve. I'm coming to you from the bridge of the Maverick, which is a perfect place for me to talk about a meme, Django Bridges. And Django Bridges is made up of two words, or two memes even, if you will. Django, which there's a few different things that I'll talk about with that word, and then bridges, and it's plural, bridges. And the first part, Django, is related to Quentin Tarantino's new film, Django Unlimited, which is about slavery and about our little challenge of how we built this country over the years, and our also even bigger challenge of even talking about it properly. And finally, it's actually talked about properly in this film, Django Unlimited, by Quentin Tarantino and a lot of people in Hollywood that made that film. And it's also about a Django who's a real life person who is the son of David Crosby. And I won't go into how he ties into that on this particular video, but he's one of the reasons that I named this piece Django Bridges. And then the Bridges part is first related to Nash Bridges. And Nash Bridges is a fictional character on TV, played by Don Johnson, who ties the project between David Crosby and Graham Nash with myself, Steve Johnson, Don Johnson. And it's also about building a bridge between the Puget Sound and Santa Barbara. I'm in Puget Sound, and David is based in Santa Barbara. And this is about a project where we use vessels around the world, but initially primarily based in the Puget Sound and in Santa Barbara, including David's vessel as well as some of his friends in Santa Barbara, the James brothers, a couple of Irish sea captains, and some captains in Puget Sound who pay a great deal of attention to the music business and the music world, and are involved in the environment and pay attention to the musicians who sing about the environment, like David and Graham and their friends do. And this is also one of their old cronies, one of their old partners in the music business. Judy Collins came from Seattle. She was born in Seattle, and she's very tied to the Puget Sound, and she's very tied to our operation because we've followed her career for 40 years, along with David and Graham. And this ties the whole project together, because Farewell to Tarwathi is a big part of what we are doing, and that's Judy Collins' song. And so it ties the project together. Good. How